Let nobody say I cannot be taught. Hello and welcome to Monday, the very first Music Monday where I talk about thoughts from songs. Today's song is The Complete History of the Soviet Union arranged to the melody of Tetris by A Pig with the Face of a Boy. You can find the video here, and if you haven't listened to this song and watched this video, you really need to click this because it is absolutely fantastic. It's won lots of awards, the animation's brilliant, the music is brilliant, it's completely beautiful, it's a wonderful song, and I was listening to it today and I decided that there were some things about it that made me think and that I wanted to talk about. First off, this song is the reason why I know pretty much anything about Russian history. And it begs the question of why we ever did away with schoolhouse rock. Why on earth did we ever do away with teaching things to older people through wonderful songs and videos? Like, why did that stop? Because of schoolhouse rock and because of music that was educational and entertaining at the same time, you know, I learned tons of things. We really need schoolhouse rock calculus. We need music that teaches us organic chemistry. I would learn how to program. I would learn how to do all these extremely useful technical skills if someone could teach it to me in a song. So any YouTubers that are looking for a niche and are really good at programming and science and things like that, there's a niche you could fill. Teach me, via song, how to program. The other thing that this song made me think about today while I was listening to it during work is how it talks about how communism and the Soviet Union was set upon the idea of creating a collective regime of peace and love. And that particular phrase is repeated a number of times. Oh, I'm just gonna do away with it. It keeps going everywhere. And when I think about that idea, just a regime based on peace and love, sounds pretty good. And yet, we know via the history of Russia, we know all about the Soviet Union and how communism actually was its downfall. It was a completely unsustainable form of government because this idea of peace and love was enforced from on high. And in the song at the very end, when it's talking about Russia's experiments with free market economies, it says, "The markets are free, so much money for me, tell me why should I care for peace and love?" Which is obviously a pointed remark at all of the capitalists out here. Now, if you read the YouTube comments on that video, you'll see a lot of people who pick that line out specifically and say, this is why capitalism is evil because it gives no incentive for peace and love. And that got me thinking about, like, I've constantly been thinking about things like that, especially since hearing the song because I love this song, listen to it on Spotify, etc. And I don't take that criticism of capitalism to be a really fair criticism, to be honest. Because communism was based on the idea of a collective regime of peace and love, and it failed. And it murdered thousands upon thousands of people. Like, it completely failed in its design. So we know that communism wasn't the utopia it promised to be either. Personally, I don't believe that we can create a man-made utopia. I don't believe that a government can be perfect. And that is at odds with a lot of my own, personality things because I'm an idealist and I'm constantly searching for perfection and trying to attain perfection. But the truth of a very complex, difficult world that we live in is that perfection simply does not exist. A utopian society cannot be dictated by a government from on high. It needs to start at the heart of the people. And this is what the song A Complete History of the Soviet Union arranged to the melody of Tetris says to me. It says that a collective regime of peace and love has to start from within. You cannot be forced to have peace and have love with anyone else. In order to have peace and love in the world, you have to start with yourself. You cannot create a governmental system, whether it be based on communism or capitalism or any other kind of ism. You can't create something that forces people to be good. People have to choose of themselves to be good. And so, while we live in a completely complex and difficult world, we are tasked with the responsibility of attempting to create peace and love within ourselves and in the world immediately around us. And I think that honestly, sometimes that's the best that we can do. Obviously, we're empowered by the internet, but it all starts with the individual. And so essentially the responsibility of government is not to force its citizens to conform to its regime of peace and love by any means necessary, as we saw with the Soviet Union, nor is it really its job to bribe people to be good. I think that the purpose of government might be to create an environment where its citizens have the freedom to choose to be good over evil. And really good societies are societies where those people are inwardly motivated by themselves to choose good, to choose peace, and to choose love. And honestly, the important thing is, We need to choose that regardless of the regime that we live underneath. We need to choose peace and love every day in our hearts with the choices that we make, no matter what government we live in. And that's what's going to make a better place. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.